Okay, so let's unpack the UFC 256 co-main event and the emergence of Charles Oliveira as an undeniably elite fixture within this stacked lightweight title picture. And what a night of fights it was. I did a separate video on the excellent 5-round flyweight title bout, but for this piece, I'm going to speak specifically about the performance turned in by Charles Oliveira, the showing we got from Tony Ferguson, and how both will affect the division's future moving forward. First things first, how about Charles Oliveira and the work he put in over those 3 rounds? In the UFC, even at the lowest levels, it is incredibly rare to see a performance that dominant, that completely flawless. Not only did Do Bronx manage to stifle every offensive effort that came from El Cucuy on the night, but he almost managed to drain the bout of its competitive nature as soon as the first round had finished. Of course, the fight's trajectory had been dramatically impacted by the late round submission attempt that Ferguson somehow stopped himself from tapping to. But all in all, that was the type of clinic that is something of a rarity at the highest levels. To be honest, though Tony didn't tap and concede the loss by way of finish, in my eyes, Oliveira finished the fight in that round. The rest was a simple matter of ceremony at that stage. Ferguson was clearly incapacitated from that point onwards, unable to fight to the best of his ability due to his hyperextended arm. And do not misread my intentions when I say that. I'm not taking anything away from what Charles did, because Charles did that to Tony. That was 100% his doing, and as Dana White himself said, 10 out of 10 fighters would have tapped to that submission. It was a beautifully timed and executed armbar that really should have seen Oliveira extend his ungodly submission success rate within the UFC, but of course that was no regular fighter in there with him. If I may call this video to a halt, to all of our regular viewers, you kinda know the drill at this point, but we're really trying to up our game here at MMA Dive in order to bring you even more content every week. So if you are really enjoying what we're doing so far, be sure to leave a comment and a like to let YouTube's algorithms know that we're fast becoming one of the best MMA channels on the platform. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do so now to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Okay, back to the matter at hand. I cannot stress enough how admirable it was to watch as Tony continued to work and attempt to find his way out of what was a seemingly unwinnable situation. But let's focus on Oliveira for the moment, because as far as UFC 256 was concerned, he well and truly stole the show for me. One of the main narratives that has come out of this huge victory has been the tendency we all have to pigeonhole a fighter early on in their career. And in the case of Oliveira, I won't be the first or the last to tell you that our preconceived notions we had about him as a fighter overstayed their welcome to some extent. Indeed, in the past, especially in his days as a featherweight, Oliveira was known as a dangerous scrambler whose wild and reckless style would allow him to carve out opportunities for quick, unpredictable submissions, all while leaving him open to damage and bad positions. But like a lot of other MMA fans, analysts, and fighters, I've been forced to consider how that idea of Charles Oliveira has colored our takes on his recent resurgence. Because based on what we saw in the UFC 256 co-main event, he could not be further from that billing. In there with one of the greatest fighters of his era, Oliveira showed poise, control, calm, and a cool head in the face of an opponent who would be more than happy to indulge him in a wild and memorable war. But what we got in the end wasn't the back and forth battle on the feet and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu scramble fest we perhaps hoped for. This was a clinic of the highest order, due to the fact that Charles came in there with a game plan that was built around him utilizing his strengths, managing risks, and completely nullifying the diverse attacks that he knew his opponent would bring. As I said before, that should have been a first round submission, through no fault of Do Bronx's. But I think the fact that he was able to show us that composure in there has done wonders for his standing within this division's title picture. Had he scored that first round submission, we would be raving about Oliveira's potential as a future champion, make no mistake. But to see the advancements in his game and overall approach over 3 rounds, his ability to fight the type of fight that was needed to do what he did to Tony, that's the type of performance that makes the world sit up and admit that they were wrong about you. And in all honesty, that's what I love about this sport. So where does this new addition to the lightweight top 3 go from here? Well, if we're to assume that Dustin Poirier vs Conor McGregor 2 goes ahead as planned in January, I would obviously like to see Oliveira in there with the winner for the undisputed title. But then again, where does Justin Gaethje fit into all of this? The highlight is still the #1 contender in the division in my eyes. He has that loss to Khabib on his resume, but I mean, who didn't lose to the champ? So hear me out. I know the promotion will be a lot more inclined to attempt to move Conor McGregor into the path of the UFC lightweight title, if Khabib does in fact relinquish his hold on the belt. And if Conor proves that he is deserving of that shot, then by all means give it to him. But for now, the 2 guys who undoubtedly deserve to fight for the belt are in fact Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. Now, do I think that the UFC will go down that route? Not really, no. Something just tells me they're banking on a big money matchup before too long, and while Gaethje vs Oliveira is an absolute dream for the fans, I think both the promotion and Khabib are waiting to see what happens in UFC 257's main event before proceeding. So to put it simply, Oliveira, in my eyes, has done enough to warrant a shot at the title, but in reality, I would not be surprised in the slightest to see him compete once more before achieving that aim. That win over Ferguson should have been enough, but given how crowded the upper echelons of this weight class are, I wouldn't hold out hope for an immediate shot at the belt, as well deserved as it might be. For Tony, it's very hard to know what comes next. Ideally, he will take some time off, recuperate, and strategize about how best to continue. As it has been said, if anyone can pull off an almighty U-turn at this point in his career, it's Tony Ferguson, but it is indeed difficult to know. He has been through the fire on many different occasions, and while his work ethic and overall attitude are legendary, the body can only take so much. His next matchup as a result will be pivotal as far as gauging his future is concerned. But in conclusion, let's go back to the man of the hour. Charles Oliveira's ability to dominate a fighter like El Cucuy in that fashion completely shocked me. And for my money, it was one of the most impressive performances I have seen in a long time, both due to that shock value and to the nature of its execution. Am I right in saying that all of a sudden the most interesting division in the UFC just went up another notch or two? What a time to be alive, folks. 2021 awaits us. Do you see Charles Oliveira achieving UFC lightweight gold next year? And what do you think the future holds for Tony Ferguson after this pair of brutal defeats? Be sure to let us know in the comments section below. We really do love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to leave a like on this video before subscribing to the channel to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. And as always, thank you for watching.